One data center, a growing number of them are called hyperscale data centers. They're 100 megawatts of electricity or more typically. One of those can use the same amount of electricity as a small city or medium city, so like 80,000 homes, one data center. So that's what we're talking about when we type in a search on the internet, and this growing electricity use means growing demand and growing electricity prices. Hannah Wiseman, professor, Penn State Dickinson Law. Data centers are necessary for almost everything we do on a computer now. We use them when we make a purchase of any goods online or playing a video game, but especially all of the artificial intelligence applications that many of us use now. So when someone types in a query in a search engine, there's now typically an automatic AI result that pops up. So every time we search for a question, to answer a question, we are using servers in a data center. A data center is basically a big warehouse full of racks of servers that have these graphic processing units that answer our queries. When we do that, we're using a massive amount of electricity and water. So the electricity that we get in our homes and businesses is from a broader grid. A grid is the maze of wires and generators that send electricity to us. And you can think of the grid on several scales. So on the smaller scale, it's an electric utility that is controlling the smaller wires that are delivering electricity, let's say in 7 or 8 towns and cities. Many utilities serve more than that. If a data center locates in that utility's territory, that utility has to raise its expenditures to serve the new customer. Now, often adding customers is good because when you spread out the costs of all the wires among more people, then that can cause costs to go down. But a data center uses so much electricity that that initial shock of having to expand the wires, get more generation, that's spread among all of us and it causes prices to initially go up. Communities can, to some degree, inform people of the fact that every time they make an internet query or use AI, it is causing more demand. But I think given the ubiquity of the digital enterprise now, it'll be hard for us as consumers to reduce demand enough to make a big difference. So I think what we need to do is accept that most things we do now are digital, online purchases, video games, emails, all of this. We store things in the cloud. And once we accept that and realize that we have this growing demand, what customers can do is get involved in the decisions the utility is making. The utility that serves 6 or 7 cities in a state is regulated by what's called a public utility or public service commission. In some states, it's called a corporation commission. And utilities are going to these state regulatory entities and saying, we need to raise rates because we're having to build more wires, in some cases, build more generation, we're having to purchase more expensive electricity in the wholesale market. Consumers should get involved in those proceedings. There is a way for the public to get involved. They can intervene, they can show up at the hearings, and they should argue that the costs being caused by the data center should be covered by the data centers, not by all of us. Public utility and service commissions listen to consumer voices. Now, it won't always mean that the result is the low rate the consumers wanted, but it does make a difference. It makes a big difference. And I think that as boring as it may seem, if people are concerned about rates, this is the most effective strategy for them, is to pay attention to what their utility is doing and get involved at the state level. People should know that a lot of activity is occurring at the state level, legislative level now. So we have the regulatory entity, the Public Utility and Service Commissions, but there are hundreds of bills being proposed in state legislatures around the country right now to help control these costs. And what many of these bills are doing is they are requiring data centers to pay for the new infrastructure that they are demanding, rather than having the utility cover the cost and spread it among all the customers. So what these bills are often called is large load rates. So what these bills are doing is they're saying, if you have large load, which means large demand, meaning essentially your data center, you need to pay the utility from which you're getting electricity. You need to pay for those costs. And I think that consumers should know this is another way to get involved and to ensure that they're not paying for the costs caused by data centers. They should talk to their state legislators, call them up. Yeah, I was at a conference in Harrisburg yesterday on this very issue.